Hey guys, I want to hone in specifically on regens in Final Fantasy XIV in this video and show them in a more practical manner with what we actually see in game. Because when it comes to this sort of thing, I really do think that seeing is actually believing, and I think that when you actually see what is actually going on, that you're going to be like, oh wow, that's actually significant. But this is actually especially important for newer players or returning veteran players, and I've seen players over the years really underestimate how strong a heal over time effect like regen actually can be. Or primary culprits would be like Whipsering Dawn. A lot of people really think that that's terrible, even though it's super strong. So I'm going to make some of the best cases that I possibly can to show that we should actually wait for these heal over time effects out and let them tick when we can. As always, if you have a different idea on how to show their strength in game, I am totally open for suggestions because I realize that the skank genie method is a bit odd. As a disclaimer for this video, I am largely lumping the white mages and the Astros regens together because they are functionally basically the same thing, and honestly would just bloat the video if I deep dive into like trying to make this 200 potency heal over time match this 200. Same thing. We're going to be going over Scholar's Fairy Embrace, White Mage and Astro Regen. We're going to go over Whispering Dawn, Fey Blessing, Sacred Soil, Asylum, Seraph, Medica 2, and look at all of how what can you take and not die when you have these active. I'm going to be dying a lot in this video. And really for this video, I'm going to be going into St. Mosian's Arbitorium's hard mode, since that is the highest level dungeon that I can queue into unsync, and I don't want to go into that other one. So I'm going to let the skank genies be my baseline to whack my character, but as you can see, I'm going to throw some of these starter mobs in for good measure. So right now we're trying to establish a baseline of running in without any regens, and as you can see, we get smashed pretty fast. Oof, that looks painful. As we can see from the footage, Eos Alone can easily heal off 3 skanks genies. But you can see when we add an Immaculate American Psychological Association that we can see very clearly that the damage starts to become overwhelming for Eos to heal off. That's not quite as in grasp, but what we can see is that when we add 2 Ranskovic to the mix, that, or whatever, I can't pronounce that, Ranskovinik into the mix, where they are hitting about 5.7k damage per. At this point, Eos is completely overwhelmed. So now back to more of the Scholar skills. I want to really see what if we add Whispering Dawn into that exact same scenario. As we can see that it does actually significantly boost resilience and helps really slow down that previously very painful HP fall. If we're looking at it just mathematically, on a single target, it's like having 2 Embrace being spammed at once number-wise, even on that single target. But remember Whispering Dawn's AoE, which makes it really effective. Now let's check out Sacred Soil, which I have said ad nauseum many times is super strong. At this point, my HP barely budges in comparison to before, and the healing component is just a touch higher than Embrace. However, it's really powerful when we think about interleaving Sacred Soil with only 50% uptime, because remember, 30-second cooldown, 15-second uptime, and then that gives the skank genies more than enough time to get my HP down between that 15 seconds where it's not up. But when it is up, I'm fully stabilized on the Scholar, and my HP is like fine. When we throw in an Immaculate Appa, we can see that the stabilization does go down a fair bit from there. However, when Sacred Soil is up, you can definitely see that we have a ton more resilience. Like, it's basically to the point where like this is like sustainable. But because Sacred Soil does fall off after that 15-second period of time, we do need to consider actually interleaving the Sacred Soil effect with the Whispering Dawn effect, and then so like right at the end of Sacred Soil you pop Whispering Dawn and wait for the Sacred Soil to come back, place that back down again, and then as you can really see that it does keep my HP stable for a significantly longer period of time, and so interleaving these regens is exceedingly powerful. And so why am I bringing up interleaving? Because you might just want specifically like the one effect, and I bring that up because when you're in a raid scenario, you have a lot of different abilities on cooldown, like whether you are playing like the Sage or the White Mage or anything. For the record, I already did a pre-media tour, so no media tour info in it yet, but I did pre-media tour Ultimate Sage Guide, but we can already tell from the tooltips that we did see when USGP hovered over them and translated that the Sage is getting abilities that are heal over time effects, like Physis, which is just exactly the same as Whispering Dawn, or Physis 2, which is much more powerful and more pronounced effect, or its Cardia system. And so the fact fact of the matter is, though, that whenever you're in a raid, you won't always have all cooldowns up. That's why they're cooldowns, because it's like they're really good effects. You want to be bringing them out, but if you pop all your cooldowns at once, especially on the Scholar and Sage, you are going to hit what we call running out of gas, which is when you have no real good options left and you're really left to really be spamming less than ideal situation. Like say on the Scholar you're spamming like Sakor over and over again for that AoE heal. That's a really bad situation to be in, really bad, and you are being very inefficient doing that. But like the main point of that is you will need to think about, oh, I'm gonna interleave this cooldown, I'm gonna wait for that one, then I'm gonna follow up with that one. You need to spread them out is what I'm trying to get at. Now we're looking at Fey Union at a quoted 400 potency healing per tick. Remember, that's pet potency, but at 400 quoted pet potency per tick, say that 5 times fast, now utterly trivializes the incoming damage healing at roughly 3 times the amount of normal embrace spam. In fact, it seems to be actively over healing and recovering the damage when I've fallen behind. Even with an Immaculate Appa joining in, it was very easy for Fey Union to heal off the damage. Now we're gonna like amp up the ante and talk about Big Fairy, because kind of, if we are being very cynical, the Big Fairy is essentially a heal over time effect. Yeah, it has the shield, but we're getting a little too complicated. Essentially, it is, for a set period of time, going to be a heal over time effect. And to be quite blunt, with Seraph's embrace spam, as I keep saying over and over, no one believes me, it's just ridiculously strong, even in single target healing, even when you're not adding Whispering Dawn, even when you're not adding in Sacred Soil. This is so incredibly strong and is going to be very impactful. And I know that in the comment section people are still going to discount it, but guys, like, this is a ton, and you should really let her do work. It's just like, you shouldn't be worried about like, oh, I need to spam Adlo at the same time. Like, let her do some work. She's definitely good at it. So the next thing is going to be White Mage regens, and we're just going to skip to the last pull type here, and we can see that already that the White Mage regen alone is a massive, massive wall to the incoming damage, but over time it does eventually fail, unfortunately. While it's strong, it's not foolproof. Likewise, layering Medica's 100 potency heal over time effect, yeah, it does a little bit of burst at the start, I totally get it guys, but that 100 potency heal over time effect added with the regen is making so that the White Mage is in combination healing for 300 HP per tick. I want to say HP per second, but HP per 3 seconds at 300 potency, because 3 seconds per tick. And really, we're seeing like that the White Mage is more than stable. It's actually kind of hilarious if we like are totally honest. It's like, wow, that was trivial. And now another interesting combination that can show you the strength of regens is combining White Mage's Asylum Dome with Medica 2 heal over time ticks. As you can see, this alone, just these two, which are both heal over time effects in an AoE for the entire party, you can see that this keeps the White Mage pretty stable. That is a lot of healing. So to say the least, from all of this evidence, I hope that you've come to the same conclusion that I've been saying for a while, is that those regens are super powerful, super strong, and you should actually let them do their work in peace, rather than always assuming that you need to burst heal immediately after. And now, disclaimer, is burst healing is often very necessary during like savage raids or during progression because of the looming incoming damage, but when you don't have that looming incoming damage, you should always let regens do their work. And yeah, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for checking out. I really do hope that you enjoyed it and learned a few things. Anyhow, take care everyone and be well.